Well, hello everyone. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to my world. This is Talk Leadership with Cedric, and I am Cedric LaFleur, your host, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight. It's Monday, June 2nd. We are halfway through 2025. It is amazing how this year has passed by pretty fast. And if you're sleeping, if you're letting fear hold you back, if you are not activating your goals, guess what? You already lost 6 months worth of work. All right. So Talk Leadership with Cedric is where we focus on leadership and personal growth with business leaders, educators, and local thought leaders. Our goal is to introduce our audience to leaders who are making an impact with innovative ideas. And as I said, I'm Cedric LaFleur, your host. You know me. And our guiding leadership principle tonight is the law of buy-in. Says people buy into the leader, then the vision. And tonight we have another outstanding guest with us. And, I always like to do a proper introduction of our guest. And so I want to do a proper introduction of our guest tonight. And I know her pretty well. Miss 𝗖𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍. She is widely recognized as the mental architect. And she's a visionary speaker, a mindset coach, and a mentor specializing in transforming how people think, how they live, and how they lead. And I want you to understand, mindset matters, right? So as the founder of Elevating with 𝗖𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗍, she empowers individuals to reframe their thought patterns and cultivate intentional habits that unlock their potential and redefine success. Now, that's some powerful stuff right there, folks. If you don't realize that, just hang with us tonight. You're going to see some more powerful work here. 𝗖𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗍's work centers on building a strong mental foundation by challenging limitations and disrupting unproductive cycles and fostering personal accountability. Her expertise lies in guiding individuals to embrace new ways of thinking and create a life that reflects their highest values and aspirations. Now, through her speaking engagements, her coaching, and her mentorship, Tatiana with a T, equips her clients with the tools to overcome mental barriers and align with their purpose and move toward a future defined by clarity and confidence. Her transformative approach reshapes lives and inspires others to see beyond their current circumstances into the possibilities that await. So welcome to the show, Miss 𝗖𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍.
Wow. Well, thank you for that amazing introduction. Are you sure you didn't miss your calling being an MC?
Hey, they call me the Renaissance man. I can do a little bit of everything, right? Yeah. So
that was an outstanding introduction.
Well, I have to always make sure that our guests feel welcome. So you have to do that with a proper introduction, right? And you deserve nothing less than a proper introduction.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, thank you. And thanks for coming on Talk Leadership with Cedric. So we're going to jump right in tonight, folks, and we're going to have an engaging conversation, right? And yes. you can jump in the chat. If you put something in the chat, boom, we can pop it up on a screen and we can have a conversation, right? You may agree, you may disagree. Feel free to put that in the chat, folks. It's all conversations are welcome here on Talk Leadership with Cedric, and it's okay if you disagree. I want you to understand, we're not going to be mad at you if you disagree, okay? But hey, if you agree, go ahead and pop that in the chat as well. So, we're going to be talking about why was woman created second. Now, it's always good to be first, all right? So we're going to start from right there, all right? But tonight, this is a woman show. We're going to be talking about why was woman created second tonight. So, here's another part of this question, and then we're going to dive in. Why did God make man first? Was it because he was a man? Now, that's powerful, all right? So now, Miss 𝗖𝗲𝗍𝗍𝗍𝗍, we're going to call her Lady T tonight. Lady T is going to be discussing this question. So let's just jump right on in here. So, Tatiana,
Let's do it.
tell us what prompted you to explore the question, why was woman created first? And how has this question influenced your understanding of gender roles in society?
So, what led me to really diving into this question? Because I got tired of hearing the wars against men and women in culture, well, in society, period, but I can really only speak amongst my community. I got tired of the man versus woman dynamic and the toxicity that it was bringing. It was dividing community when we should be building our community. So I just sat with myself one day and I asked, I said, why did God create man first? And of course, I went to that good old Holy Bible and just read Genesis from, and when he said it was not good for man to be alone. And from there, it was just like my mind just started to put all these words together to answer that question.
Okay, all right. Well, that is awesome. So let's dive a little bit deeper here. So, in your opinion,
Yes.
what societal behavior, beliefs, or traditions contribute to the perception that women are seen as secondary or optional?
So to answer your question, there are many beliefs today that would make a woman feel less than, especially when it comes, or second to when it comes to a man, just because of how, or what I like to call um, societal generations. Because every society produces a certain idea or persona of how a man and woman should be in the household and in society. And every generation, it seems that's transitioning. And as we continue to transition, it seems to be worsening versus rebuilding what it should look like for a man and a woman to coexist in a house or just in a partnership in general. And for me, it's outdated. You see it everywhere. You see it in the systems, you see it in the institutions, you see it across the board. You hear it in the page gap and just everything else. And it's like, I just wanted to know why. And I just kept asking, why is this a thing? Why does man think he's smarter than woman? Why is this whole superiority complex even existing? Because if
Well,
we
is
go
man
back to the
smarter than
word,
woman?
depending on who we're talking about.
Okay.
But I don't think it doesn't have anything to do with the gender of the person more than the willpower and the intellect.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, hey, I'm just saying. We ask why all the time, but here's what I tell you why it stands for. Who helped me? Who healed me?
Okay.
Who hurt me? See, that's why we. That's why we ask that why. So we want to understand that. But
That is true.
keep
But
going
in
with.
order for us to even answer those questions, you have to go back to where it all stemmed from. Who said women couldn't lead? Who said that women were second to man? Because we know God is a God of order. He did not specifically create Adam before Eve to rule over her. He gave us dominion to rule over land, not necessarily the next person. So that's where a lot of confusion begins when we are told to believe that women are too emotional to lead. But if we dial that back and actually look at history, a lot of the crimes and a lot of decisions that were made by very powerful and influential men were made in the midst of an emotion, whether they realize that or not. Anger, greed, ego, those are all emotions. That's not your natural state of being, but something that you've adapted to or conformed and built an identity around. And whenever that's attacked, you feel, whomever it is, we feel this sense of, oh, we have to stand our ground. We have to protect that. When you sometimes don't even realize what you're protecting.
You're absolutely right about that. Right. I love this conversation and dialogue. So now here's a question I really want to understand your
Okay.
thought process. So um, how do we believe the narrative of creation in religious context and its impact on a woman's role in church and in society?
Well, depending on the impact, it could have both a positive and a negative impact. Also, the person who is the impact or creating the impact. For example, if it's taught incorrectly, then you're not properly supporting, going back to the text, we're building off of misinterpretation, or somebody's perception or perspective of what it should look like versus what is actually taught in the Bible. When we hear stories about Deborah and Esther, understand that they weren't going against men, but they were bold enough to stand up against men because of their creator, who created them, and who is their source. We weren't created to be combative with one another, but to help and coexist with one another. And that shows that in the Bible, none of the women in the Bible were treated as less than. They were given the opportunity. God gave them the same opportunity he gave all of his male disciples and prophets and whomever he chose to carry out his will. He entrusted the same thing in woman and showed that all throughout the Bible.
Okay, all right. So I see we have a comment on the screen here that says God created women because women are stronger than men in many, many ways. Now, Lady T, what do you think of that comment? You agree
I
with
can
it?
understand where the comment came from. Yes, we both
Okay,
have our own. Women have their own superpowers, and they have their own superpowers. We weren't meant to carry it all and do it all. We have our equal shares, so I understand.
okay, all right. So, I I agree with your comment earlier that said, "Hey, God didn't create man first to rule over women, and He didn't want men to stomp on women, right? He wanted a person to be a guide, to be an accountability partner, to be. I lost your picture for some reason, and to help you navigate this world. We know that women see some things before guys see it, so they needed that person to be that confident and to help um, be a thinking partner, if you will. Right? I like Jackie's comment. We are a growth element of humanity. We are collaborators with men. I 100% agree with that comments, right? So we'll get Tatiana back on here in just a minute. The internet sometimes doesn't allow you to be great, but we're going to keep on talking here. So this question came up, or this topic came up because of a piece that Tatiana wrote around this the question, why was woman created second, right? And as I was reading it, I was like, wow, this would be a great interview topic for Talk Leadership with Cedric. And I would imagine that tonight, as soon as we get her back on, we'll have some lively conversations. But, one of the things that she wrote, she said, hey, God created Adam first, yes, but not because he was superior. God doesn't operate in ego, he operates in order, right? And I really love the comment that she made here. So welcome back. I know the internet sometimes doesn't allow you to be great, right? And I was telling them why this topic is the topic tonight, and I was talking about the piece that you wrote, right? So let's. You heard the last part that I was reading in that. Why don't you give us a little bit of background on why you wrote that piece, and give us some context.
As far as what God doesn't operate in ego but order.
No. Why you write the whole text that you wrote? The message that you wrote. That's why we're having this conversation tonight.
So I wrote it really to just give clarity. I've always had a thing for poetry or just speaking in general. And when it comes to words, just I have a passion for words. But I put that together, like I said, originally to give people clarity and understanding, but to put it in a format for them to receive. Because it doesn't matter what I bring to the table, if it's not brought, if it's not served well or served correctly, it's not going to be received. And the goal is not to condemn anybody, but to help them to understand we have not been operating in the right space. We've been operating in a space where we were taught, and how we were taught is not necessarily the same way God told us to live. God doesn't, there's a lot of dysfunction in this world, and it's normalized, and it's become our identity because we don't know anything else. And once I learned something, once I learned the real reason why God created man and woman and the distinctive characteristics and the reason he created us the way he did, it would be wrong of me to hold this in. When God said you learn something, you share it, you be fruitful and you multiply. And that's what it is. I just want people to operate in a healthy space. But I'm honestly tired of seeing men and women against each other. Like people are building out platforms just to bash the opposite sex. And it makes no sense to me. You know,
Yeah.
we could just have a conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And in the text you wrote, hey, Eve wasn't a second thought. She was the missing piece.
Yes, yes.
So expound on that a little bit for
So, like I said, going back to the book in Genesis, God said it was not good for man to be alone. He didn't say it was a bad thing, but he just said it wasn't good for man to be alone. Means he created woman to complete his unification. He created woman to as the missing piece. He saw something good and made it better. That's why they say women, we multiply. You give us something, we're going to multiply. I've always heard if you have the right woman behind you, that man is going to exceed in life, not because she's leading him, but because she's helping him and adding to what God already gave him to multiply.
you.
So
Yeah.
when you work as a partnership and as a unit, you work as one, because in the Bible it says when you marry, you become one. You don't marry to still claim individuality. So
Right.
Adam and Eve is the example. Yes, the fall affected them. They made a mistake, but throughout the Bible, you learn that God gives grace and he gave grace and he sent the ultimate sacrifice so that way we can continue to live and live out the will that live out the calling that he's placed on our life. And
Yeah.
I just, if women understood their role and know that we don't have to operate in a masculine space to lead, and men, just because we're in this position don't mean that I'm going to take anything from you, especially your power. And that's really it. That's the beginning.
Right. Yeah. Well, and we will say, hey, he made Eve from Adam's rib, right? But a lot of people don't understand the context of what the rib does in the body, right?
It's a very
Yeah.
important piece.
It's a protector, right? It protects your vital organs, right?
Mhm.
So the woman is there to help be that protector as well for men, to help them. You know, a lot of guys, we make a decision and we run with it. And the lady said, well, wait a minute, hold on. Have you thought about this? Right? Have trust me, I've been there, done that. All right, got the T-shirt. I got a T-shirt right there in the house for it. Right? But so understanding this context. So let's keep going here because I want to make sure that there's a lot to uncover tonight. So let's make sure that we get there. So how do you interpret the creation order of Adam and Eve, and what significance do you believe? Well, hold on a second. Let me restate that a second. I think I kind of covered that a little bit.
Mhm.
What I want to do is I want to go through this other question that I have that I think is going to cause us to have a lot of conversation around. All right, audience, you guys may have to chime in on this one. All right. So, in your view, what does it mean when you say that God created Eve as the missing piece? What is that piece that's missing?
It was, so what is that piece that was missing? It was like you said, the final piece of his puzzle, the completion of man. It was not that Adam was not incomplete. Well, Adam was incomplete without Eve. It was more so God felt something else needed to be there to make his vision whole. So women were not secondary options, we're not the option, we're not optional, but a necessary piece to complete God's order here on earth.
Okay. All right. So I like that. Audience, tell me if you agree with that or you disagree with that. But the other part is that word peace, right?
Hmm.
Not peace in the sense of a piece of orange or a piece of apple, but peace in the sense of calmness, steadiness, relaxation, your safety zone, right? He
With the right
created
person.
with I didn't I tell you it was gonna be some conversation right there? Go say that again. Say that again.
With the right person. You cannot have peace if it's forced. You have to build with the right person. And I know the world loves to say that you can have multiple significant others. That's yes and no. God has positioned us and he has already planned our entire life out. Did he account for us taking control and having will, making choices at our own free will? Yes. God's overall person for you, what that looks like, is only for him to know. And what I like to say is God could give us confirmation. That doesn't mean that's the conclusion, because while God can give us confirmation, that person that he may tell you is your person may not be ready to step up to the plate, and or that person may not agree with what may not want that. Therefore his assignment, or the person to carry out his assignment, may change, but the overall person that was created for you, what that looks like in spirit form, will not change.
Oh, so you mean if you see that guy who you think is for you, and,
We have to
but
ask
he's
ourselves which one of us is responding to that person. Is this my flesh or my spirit? Because my
uh-oh.
flesh has preferences, my spirit, I want alignment.
Oh, look at uh-oh. Uh-oh. Hey, you better say that loud so the person in the back of Facebook can hear. Okay.
Right.
So, all right. So then, how does that um, perspective around peace shape your understanding of women in society? So let me explain what I'm talking about here. So sometimes um, you may be with someone and you think, hey, this is that person, and you could be with that person for several years, right? Um, but the alignment, like you said, has always been off. It's still off. How then do you handle that in the context of you believe that God sent this person to you? You may even say, I prayed about it. Um, but you know that that's not your peace because there's always this upheaval.
That's a loaded question, because
It
there's so
is.
many different things that play into that. But the first things first is your relationship with God. Before you can have a relationship with anybody, you have to understand your relationship with God. If you don't have one with him, you can have a relationship with people, but it's a surface level relationship because you don't genuinely feel safe. And most people who are operating in relationships and don't understand partnership have unhealed trauma. And a lot of people don't understand that a lot of the ways and habits that they have is rooted from trauma. We were born into dysfunction, many of us. I know a lot of my generation, there's so much healing that needs to be done, it's not even funny. But when we hear healing, you hear people go exit left because of the simple fact that's that's unfamiliar territory for them. So before we can even identify what peace look like in someone else, you have to realize you have to see what it looks like in you. You have to be at peace with you, and not just, oh, I'm unbothered. If somebody's always yelling I'm unbothered, you're probably the most bothered. Because if you're at peace, you don't have to announce it. It's going to be warning. It's in your aroma. It's in your aura. When people are in your presence, they're going to feel your peace, because that's internal. And what I like to say, I work on the internal so I can be whole externally, but also I can be open for the eternal. Because God, that's how God
Mm.
communicates with us, through the spirit. If I'm blocking my spirit, that means I'm not watering my garden with God. So before we can address any relationship with anyone else, with any other person, we have to be right with God. That's our first relationship.
Okay, so your alignment with God must be first. All right.
Then you have to have a relationship with yourself. I can't be in a relationship with anybody else if I don't love myself, because I can't teach you how to love me when I don't love me, if I don't even know what that looks like.
Uh-oh, shut up. Don't start that. Don't start that because you know what's going to happen, right? Is somebody going to come on here and say, wait a minute, wait a minute. Um, I love myself, but I'm a strong, independent woman. I don't need no man.
And most of us that say we're strong, independent women that don't need a man are really saying that we want one. We just tired of being hurt. We show up and give the love we desire without the word saying it because we're too afraid to ask for it. And then if you are asking for it, you're just exhausted. It's like it can't get any better than this, because that's what you see around you. When you settle, you're saying I gave up. That's what settling is, and you're we're so conditioned, and like I said, dysfunction. We've normalized things like settling to the point where it's like, okay, if this is this 80/20 rule that exists, you don't have to have a perfect partner for them to fulfill the list that we make. And but
Yeah.
when you really take a dive into that list, ask yourself, are you even that list? Because there's a lot of things that women and men both desire that they can't maintain themselves. So
Yeah.
that's why it starts: one, God; two, you. And then that way, once I'm whole and I'm emotionally sound and I know what my needs are and I understand that I am in control, my happiness does not come from somebody. You can add to, but you can never take away from it. Because if you disrupt it, that means one or two things. If it's a constant disruption, something is off with us. We might not be in alignment how I thought we was. That little honeymoon phase is over with. Now it's time to see who's really this is. Or I still need to work on something. But is a lot of the things that we deem difficult, like tough conversations, we make it tough when we add the emotion into it. And if you have unhealed wounds, you're bleeding into your relationships. You're not showing up.
Yeah. Uh-oh, man. Woo, I'm glad. Yeah. Hey, y'all better call Lady T after this. Don't be calling me saying, hey, y'all talking about me on that show. So, in the word in Genesis, right? And actually in your text as well, you have it written here. You said, hey, that word helper in Genesis, right? In
Mm-hmm.
Hebrew, it's Isa, right? The same word used to describe God as our help, right?
When he
So in
helped
the
the Israelites.
context, yes. So in the context of the word and woman being created second, right?
Hmm.
Um, how does this? How do you equate that word helper to the woman man relationship? And we can take it the other way as well, man woman relationship.
I mean, well, it's the same thing. Understanding where you add value to a person. So understanding that we all have strengths and weaknesses, and when you come to the table to meet, you sh- you shouldn't necessarily be trying to find red flags instantly, but just being present and getting to know a person. Because as you get to know a person, you will naturally begin to see where you guys fit. As far as, okay, he lacks here, but I'm strong there. I lack here. His strength is that. That's how you balance out. Your partner should balance you out. We should not be, excuse me. What you're really asking is compatibility. Don't focus on compatibility, because compatibility is surface level. You, like I said, you want intention, you want vulnerability, you want truth. I understand that we may have similar things in common, but I'm my own person. When most people enter relationships, and I can say most women, we're more so, we're natural nurturers. So we're looking to understand our partner. But a lot of women who don't know themselves begin to shape their identity around what their partner like, and who their partner is, and what their
Uh oh.
okay, yeah, and what their
Okay.
partner wants to do and stuff. So you begin to lose yourself, or not even lose yourself. That's, you show up as their junior in a sense. Oh, he
Yeah.
like football, so I'm gonna watch football when you don't know nothing about football. Not to say you can't take interest, but be your own person outside of that. So if you know who you are, going back to the question, you know who you are. So when you go to the table, and like I say, you naturally get to know someone, you guys begin to balance each other out. That relationship grows, the vulnerability should also be growing. In addition to the vulnerability, the trust, the partnership is naturally formed. So that's how you will help you understand your partner. You understand who you're working alongside, not behind, not ahead, but alongside. And you will see, this is where I add value. This is where I'm the help for them. And this is where, or they're the help for me. And not feeling shameful about it, because I know I need help. And it's okay
Yeah.
to need help, but you have to ask for help from the right person.
Yes. Yeah. And I like in your text you said, so when someone tries to water you down as a sidekick, remind them God used the same title for himself, helper.
Yes,
Right.
yes. That was just a reminder to let folks know that there's nothing wrong with being the help.
Yeah, absolutely right. And we all need help and support, right? We should be leaning on each other, so we are that helper when we
I mean,
need you.
even Jesus needed help. He needed help to, that's why they say go and make disciples. He couldn't reach everybody, so he chose he chose specific individuals to go and continue to carry out his word that he knew would fulfill that.
Yes, yes, yes. So there'll come on the screen that says, never depend on your spouse for happiness. Happiness comes from within. Mindset matters. And let me tell you, let me just do a commercial right quick. Right? So here's the book right here. Mindset Matters, Unleash Your Potential. This is the youth version. We also have an adult version that will be shipping this month. In fact, we were working with Amazon all day today to get that loaded into Amazon so that you can start ordering. So fingers crossed, but hopefully they'll have it all uploaded in the next 48 hours. And boom, the adult version of that will be available, you see. But this happiness piece will never come until your mindset is right. It doesn't matter what you have, where you live, what car you drive, or what driveway you park it in until your mindset is right. You see, because you will never be happy with somebody else if you're not happy with yourself. That's why Cedric over here always says, I'm always great.
That's you do.
I choose to not let all those negative things and people and processes get in my way.
Hold on, this is what the kids do today. They clock it because you just spoke on it right there. We wake up with the same 24 hours. What you do with that, that's what makes the difference. But we wake up with the same 24 hours. My day may start earlier than yours or later than yours, but it's a choice. Like you and I talked before, people don't, I think people fail to realize even if it's a choice you don't want to make, it's still a choice because at the end of the day, you're still making that choice. So the thoughts we choose to entertain, what we choose to believe is what we feed ourselves. So if you constantly sit in negativity, you eventually become negative. Like Pastor PMJ said, you get in your car. He was talking about what's the purpose of being neutral? Because God don't want lukewarm. He wants you either for him or against him. That's simple. Yeah. That's how you show up. It's either you for yourself or against yourself. Because if you in a car, the car going neutral, it's either going to go forward or backwards. So if your environment is pulling you backwards, you're going to eventually go backwards. If your environment is pulling you forward, then you will gradually go forward. But it's a choice. You want to go back or forward. Because if you stay neutral, you're going to stay exactly where you are and wake up the next year, wonder why your year looked the same as the year before.
Yes, absolutely. Just like you can choose to live in fear, you can choose to take action. See, yes. Both of them are habits, right?
Either one is scary.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You decide which one. Now, here's the part in your text that you jump on men a little bit, right? So let me dive into that a little bit, right? Here's what she says. She said, some men have mistaken control for leadership. They walk around with loud egos and silent accountability. They want submission but can't handle responsibility. They are emotionally unavailable, spiritually immature, and calling themselves kings with no kingdom to manage. Oh man, oh man, oh man.
Now, before y'all jump on me in the comments, know that I turned the mirror around, okay? I turned the mirror around. For they love to say this is just another woman bashing men. I'm not. I talked about us both.
She was having her Oprah moment there.
A little bit.
So tell us what made you write that part?
Because we all have flaws, and like I said, if you tune into some of these podcasts, listen to some of these videos, the platform, people get platforms and they're using it to just bash people versus uplift people. And you hear a lot of the same things, but everybody's pointing fingers. And I was always told you can point one, but it's 3 point, not including your thumb. It's 3 pointing back at you. And that's factual. Like I said, we be wanting people to show up perfect when we're not working on ourselves. So that's where that came from. Understand that there's lacking on both sides.
So in other words, you do something wrong to me, then I want to bash you, right? But I do something wrong to you. Did you understand my intent? You don't understand. You see, yeah,
I'm
I
just
want a
bringing
little
light
grace.
to the situation. No, you're not. You're hurt.
You're right. Absolutely. Yeah. Um, I want grace, but I don't want to give grace. You see.
There you go. There you go.
Mm. So now, um, you later on in your text, you said, "Hey, the title was What's wrong with women now?" Right? And you said some of us have confused independence with isolation. We've armored up so much that we call our trauma strength. Oh man, right there. Right? We learn to clap ourselves. We learn to clap for ourselves because we don't trust anyone else to show up. We've mastered I got it, but secretly we resent having it too.
Hmm.
Now talk to us about that, Lady T. Talk to us.
Honestly, any woman that's had to operate in this independent space knows exactly where that's from. When you are not taught to be vulnerable, you do grow to resent it in a sense because most women are tired of being the strong one. Most of us are tired of being independent, but when you don't know how to stop because that's again become your identity, that also creates resentment for the opposite sex. When you see dysfunction more than anything, that becomes your normal. But when it comes down to just the armor of trauma and strength, a lot of the little girls in us have not been healed because we don't even know where to start. And then like I said earlier on, when the moment you hear healing, you run the other way because you're not ready to unpack that. You don't want to feel that. And it just takes you back to the moment where we didn't have control.
Mm.
But like I said, when
Yeah.
you grow up in dysfunction and you have to take on more than you can emotionally handle, let alone or you're not emotionally equipped to deal with, resentment grow, anger grow. When you feel like people have let you down so much to the point where you just have to do everything by yourself, we create our own environments without realizing it because of how we operate in survival mode.
Hmm. Yeah. So now I want you to buckle up for this next piece, okay? Now, she says, and she's talking about women, she says, we chase validation while preaching self love. We say, I don't need a man, when what we really mean is, I don't want to be hurt again. Some of us are bitter. Some of us are prideful. Some of us manipulate because we never learn how to trust. Some of us compete with other women because we don't know what sisterhood feels like. What we want it to be, what we want it to be, we want it to be pursued, but we don't want to be pruned. We want the fruit, but we don't want to face our roots. Now that's some stuff there. Now we got to unpack a little bit right there. So, audience, first before we get to you, Lady T, audience, I chime in here. Tell me, you know, what your thoughts are when you heard that. We chase validation while preaching self-love. We say things like, "I don't need a man," but what we're really saying is, "I don't want to be hurt again." Right? Some of us are bitter, prideful. We manipulate because we haven't learned how to trust yet. Now, go ahead, Lady T, while we're waiting on the audience to respond.
That literally came from just looking back on women culture today. Quick story, there's this talk a dating show. We'll call it a dating show. It's called Pop the Balloon. And both men and women do it. And one woman, she was on there and a guy was trying to ask her a question. His approach was very calm. His demeanor was very respectful, but he couldn't get the question out because she kept interrupting him and she got defensive. And then because he popped his balloon, she verbally assaulted him as far as just calling him out his name. And if that's not most women today, especially like I said, I'm not going to say necessarily in black community, but that's who can speak for because I am a black woman. I don't know why that video just hurt my heart because she's in pain, but yet it's survival mode for her. But when it come down, like when it just came down to that portion, it was what I experienced. I thought about it. I I'm a very kind person as far as I'll send you a nice message. If I know you're suffering, if I know you're going through something, I'm gonna just shoot you a message. And most people look at like, I just met you. Why you saying this? Or it's the compliments that I give, or the not even the validation, but God does say get we can receive validation from our friends. I don't remember the scripture, I'll give it to you later, but it's received, what my words are received more amongst men than women. And I had to ask myself why is it that? But then it goes back to, we were taught it's only room for one of us at the table. So from there, that this dog eat dog world amongst women became a thing. I need to be the one that has the center of attention. I need to be the one that looks the best. I need to be the one that's this, that, and the third. We always got to be the one on top. So everybody's aiming to be the dog on top when it's like, that's your table. Well, like, I can build my own, because that's what God said. God created us to be individuals, not to follow behind people. God didn't create us to for the same thing. It might be, my calling might be similar, but I have my own calling. I have my own walk with Him. That means we can coexist next to each other. We can build without tearing each other down. I can support you. I can praise you, and you do the same, because we're both going to be blessed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So as you were talking,
You
I
thought
was
of a
thinking,
question.
yeah. Well, I'm always thinking of questions, right? Um,
Mhm.
so um, when we think of this context of men hurting and women hurting, right? And we said earlier that really women are designed to be helpers. They're designed to be that peace, that protector um, for their husband while they're leading the house. How do we? Um, what is leadership and emotional maturity? How do they go together?
In order to be an effective leader, you have to have emotional intelligence. And emotional intelligence is when you're not only sound of yourself, but you can process, you understand, and you can be present and make those necessary decisions without your personal opinion pouring into that, or your like how you personally feel, allowing that to affect you professionally. So in order to lead, you have to lead in love, lead in understanding, lead in compassion, because we're human. The world will tell you be a robot, you can't show emotion. We were created, like, we have emotions. When you bury them, you're not showing up whole. When you
So,
don't operate in when you're not operating in healthy emotional spaces, you're negatively affecting, and you have a negative influence versus a positive influence.
yeah. So how does that show up in relationships when you have? Let's start with the woman since this is about women. Let's start with the woman when you have a woman who is hurting or not emotionally strong. Um, she may not be hurting. She just may not be emotionally strong. So when she hurts, when she gets into disagreements, when she gets into those stressful situations, how is that going to show up?
Defensive, combative, confrontational. The labels that we see, that we hear, or like that we hear a lot of Black women supposedly carry. That's, most women are tired. They're mentally exhausted because they've had to fulfill both roles in their household or within their family. We don't understand. We don't take the time to understand, but we're quick to judge. So that right there, if you come across a combative woman, she may not necessarily be combative because she wants to. She has felt attacked majority of her life, probably, so she's built this armor to protect herself. When like I said, a lot of women are still healing or have not yet begun to heal the little girls in them. So they're still operating in that space most of the time. They're protecting her. I can't show it for me today if she's still hurting, because she's going to keep me away from the areas I need to grow.
And what are those
That's
things that's causing her to be hurt from being a little girl?
It could be her basic needs, like our basic needs are normally met. Feeling that safety within the household that brought you up, your with your parents. If your parents didn't demonstrate love and didn't love you, 9 times out of 10 you're probably struggling with love. If they neglected you and weren't there, if they didn't show up for you, whether that was through support, encouragement, and love, you don't know what those things look like, so you're going to go and seek those things because your heart yearns for those things. Whether that's looking for that in um a mentor. Look, most women look for that in a man, and most men look for that in a woman. You're looking for your mom and women because your mom neglected you and you still got some things that you have to heal from. Women, we have daddy and mommy issues most of the time. Our moms weren't there to show us what nurturing and gentleness look like. So but we've had to see survival. And this is nothing to the women in my family, but I seen just survival.
So why
I know
can't you
what
just say,
unconditional
get?
love is because my granny.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I'm just saying I know what unconditional love is because my granny, but that's a grandmother's love. I still see my mom today and it's things that she's still healing from, and my heart hurts because sometimes I don't think she realizes that she's still healing. But that's most of our parents today.
Yeah. So what do you say to the person that says, "Look, you're not a little girl anymore. Get over that."
My walk is my walk, and when I this is my journey, not yours. If you don't want to be around it, you are more than welcome to leave, and you can leave me where I'm at. And if you meant to be in my life, I'll catch you in the next go round. It's that simple. Because we can't hold people up. Like, if I'm not in a space that is healthy for you, respectfully leave me alone. I'm okay with that. But that's not everybody. Some people, when you tell them that, they hear rejection because they're not healed. So hurt people hear different, heal people hear different too. If you reject me 9 times out of 10, you're not rejecting me, but either something that comes with me or something that my presence is going to make you something, or is requesting something from you that you're not ready to bring to the table. We bring personal, where it's like when somebody's doing something to you, that's exactly, they're doing something to you, not because of you, but to you. 9 times out of 10 because of them. It could, your actions could have triggered them, but this is what they're operating in. How somebody responds to you is what they're choosing to do. Not, you didn't cause that. That's what they're choosing to do. Whether it's operating in wholeness or brokenness, it's their choice. Whether they're fully sound of the decision and the repercussions that their choice carries, that's not up to us. That's up to them. But when I'm dealing with somebody that's not healed, I have enough I have enough knowledge and experience now to know not to take that personally. If you are showing up like this, only thing I could do is give you grace and understanding. But that doesn't mean I have to reduce or lessen myself. I don't have to shrink myself or make myself smaller because you're in a space of healing and I've already healed from that.
So should you just leave a person that's not healed yet, or should you stick with them?
Every circumstance is different. And
Hmm.
that's why I say you have to have a relationship with God first, because only God can answer that for you. I can't tell you to walk away. I can give you sound advice because 9 times out of 10, the advice that I'm giving you is going to benefit you both. Like, people come to me for advice, I'm giving you sound advice. And when I used to respond in flesh, yeah, I'm gonna give you a worldly response. I'm gonna probably say something you've heard before. However, today, in today's time, in the present moment, if you come to me and you're hurting, or you need advice on a situation, I'm going to hear you, but I understand that there's still another side because we all see things differently. You and I can both go through the same experience, but we're going to our takeaway is going to be completely different. We might have similarities, but our takeaway is different. Our process is going to be different. Our recovery time is going to be different. Even when you sustain a wound, we still don't heal the same. So I don't know why when it shows up, like, we expect people to be emotionally ready for us or emotionally healed just because we say, all right, you need to hurry it up. You've been healing for too long. Who am I to tell
Does
that
it?
person they've been healing for too long? It probably never started.
Mm. So how then do you show up emotionally strong for that person when they're healing?
Not taking it on, but walking with them. Your problems are not my problems to the point where I have to stress myself out to find a solution for you. But if you are somebody is significant to me, if, or it doesn't even matter if you're somebody to me, I'm a solution person. So when it comes to me, I'm going to hear you. I'm going to listen. And if I'm able, understanding that I'm not God, so I can't serve you. I can't serve everybody. But if what your problem, if I'm able to help you, then I can. Whether that's listening to you. Sometimes people just need us to listen. But before, and taking out of context, not me, but in somebody today wanting to show up for somebody and not knowing how to, ask yourself, can you deal with this emotional situation? Because that situation is going to take some energy and emotion out of you. It can drain you. So you have to be honest with yourself. Do you have the mental capacity to deal with that situation? And then from there, you go from there as far as assessing it and identifying how you can help. Not trying to be the help, not trying to save them, because you can't save them, but walking it out with them. What does that look like? Don't show up how you want to. Ask them how they need you to. Like when somebody dies, everybody, oh, I need you to do this. How are you? How are you? Some people just want to be left alone. Some people don't want you to tell them it's okay. They know it's gonna be okay, but those are not the words that they want to hear. Sometimes they just, hey, what do you need? Nothing. Okay, I'll leave you alone. Sometimes they appreciate that more than anything. We force ourselves on people because we try to show up for them how we want to be showed up for without asking them. And that's the same thing when it comes to emotional situations. Ask that person how you want to show up, because if you're unhealed, you're showing up for them how you want to show up. And sometimes you're bleeding, and that can worsen the situation and go completely opposite of how you want it to go.
Wow. Okay. All right. I like that. I like that. So, in your text, you said that, God didn't create us to compete with one another. He created us to co-label. He didn't design us a hierarchy. He designed harmony.
Mm,
Man
yes, sir.
wasn't designed to rule over woman, and woman wasn't created to shrink behind a man. You said, we were meant to build each other, build together. So when you think about this build together piece, right? And no one's the ruler over the other. How do you handle those situations where, the uh, man takes the scripture and says, well, I'm supposed to be the ruler of my house and my kingdom, right? But then he doesn't listen.
My first question would be to ask him, do you understand what that means? Because if you did, that wouldn't be an approach as, oh, this is mine. You may be the head of the house, but this is ours. God didn't assign and say this is your house. He said you are the head of this house. You're the man of this house, meaning you are the first he's going to communicate with about this house. You lead this house. That means in the word and in the spirit and in the kingdom. If you can't do that, then I don't know what you're ruling. Like I said in my text, you're not ruling much of anything. But that would just be, it could be perceived two ways. One, oh, you're not going to listen, or two, listen to what's not being said. He don't listen. Why is it that he doesn't listen? Most men don't listen because they don't know how to trust. The ego is speaking over the mission. If you decide to join a union where it's you with before marriage, if you decide to build a partnership under God, under his in his covenant, you understand that it's bigger than yourselves. What it is that you're walking and what you're walking out with him, it is bigger than yourself. It is mission over position all day. It's not about my husband and my wife. This is about unionship. This is about partnership. Those are just titles to help the world identify who we are. But the titles alone doesn't actually carry out what the meaning is if you're not living right.
Okay. All right. So then, if take that a step further and say, well, if I'm the leader, then you should be submissive, and then they throw the same scriptures back out to you. God made you from my rib, not vice versa.
I would ask him what it means to be submissive. And if you can't tell me what it means to be submissive, you shouldn't ask nobody to be submissive, because being submissive doesn't mean I'm second to you. Like I said, being submissive doesn't mean I don't have a voice. Being submissive doesn't mean I shrink myself so your ego can grow to make you feel better. We're not stroking your ego. You shouldn't have an ego. But if you do, that's okay. We'll get you together, because I'm not here to be your servant. I'm here to be your aid, your helpmate at that. I'm here to help you multiply. But that doesn't reduce my calling, because I'm also here to lead, but I'm here to lead in a different way. That's a part of the big misunderstanding right there. When you hear the word lead, you think, oh, you're trying to lead in finances. I'm trying to lead the household. I'm trying to lead the relationship. No, I'm leading in the spaces that were created for me to lead while you're leading over here. And then we meet in the middle. But I'm not taking away from where you're supposed to lead. Man is not supposed to lead every space. If he was, then we wouldn't be here because God would have never seen a purpose for us. He didn't give us everything for a reason. But you could go back to scripture, and the thing I would like to say is, if that's the scripture you want to stick to, then go ahead and fast forward, because we got Ephesians and we got Proverbs. And please read Proverbs 31 and truly understand what that is. But even just Proverbs 31, understand that every woman in that Bible still had a calling to lead. Deborah led, Esther led, Ruth led. They all led in their own capacity and served how they were supposed to serve. So if we have an understanding of how you're supposed to show up, we shouldn't be met with stubbornness. If you're met with stubbornness, it's a disconnect somewhere. It's not necessarily what you're called to do, but who's showing up to do it.
Okay. All right. I really do like that and like that comment there. Audience, if you have any questions or comments, definitely go ahead and put those there. I'll pop them up on the screen. You know, as we were talking about this, um, and you mentioned, you know, Esther and Ruth and um, them leading in their own way, right? Um, that same thing is true to the Esther and the Ruth um, that's out in the audience. Now, your name may not be Esther or Ruth, but your name could be Sipsy, your name could be Tina, your name could be um, Marie, Sally, Jessica, whoever, right? You're also designed to lead in some kind of way. You have to, like she said, pray to God and find out how are you supposed to lead in your relationship. Why, and understand for your own self, why were you created from the rib, right? And what does that mean for you? How you show up in your relationships on a daily basis, right? And how you don't show up on a daily basis, right? Because with responsibility also comes accountability, right?
Mm.
So you have to be responsible for those things that you're responsible for, those things that you have to do, but you also have to hold yourself accountable when you fall short, right? And
Yes.
it's easy for man or woman, for any of us to grab, you know, a set of scripture and make it fit our narrative, right? But we got to take the entire thing into context in how we show up every day. So that healing part, don't just say, I'm not healed, I'm dealing with trauma, I'm dealing with this. And what you have to do then is try to get healed, right? And everybody's going to get healed in a different way. Go ahead.
I'm glad you said that, because a lot of people think healing means you have to do it alone.
Mhm.
Not every season, because there'll be different phases, so to say, of healing. Some of those phases or those seasons, it will require solitude, only so you can get grounded and do the work, necessary work, without the distractions. Some parts of healing you do solo. Other parts of that journey will be with certain people. It may not always be with the intimate partner, but God will send you certain people to, as you continue to work towards being whole, to help you walk that part out, because it's some parts that will be ugly, and you probably can't handle that by yourself, and that is okay. Which is why we have to be mindful of the people and the company that we keep, and understand if somebody's for you or against you. Genuine people in this world that's for you, we make mistakes, but we're not intentionally trying to hurt you. People that have malicious intent and hidden agendas, they show their true colors. We have to believe them. They may not necessarily be a bad person, but they don't have some healthy habits, and they're hurting you versus helping you. Regardless of the emotional detachment, you have to have enough willpower to say no and to step away to protect you. And a lot of times that's where our trauma worsens, when we continuously expose ourselves to what's hurting us versus what's helping us. When you somebody comes into your life and say, I just want to help you, I don't have nothing, for like hidden, I don't want anything or expectations, we run away from people like that. You have to ask yourself, why? Why are you running away from people that want to help you? Because yes, the same people that hurt you say the same thing, but they show you very clearly that they're not for you. It's just little things that we tend to overlook, like we call the red flags. People show you exactly who they are through their words and their actions. People say exactly what they want to say. There's no, I didn't mean to say that. You meant exactly what you said.
Yeah.
It's about, like you said, being accountable to yourself before you can be accountable to somebody else. Because how can I show up for you and make sure keep a promise to you when I can't keep a promise to myself?
Yeah,
Saying,
absolutely.
if you constantly saying you're going to do something and you don't keep that commitment, that's you not being accountable to yourself. That's you letting yourself down. It's just a lot of people don't look at it like that. That's you not showing up for you. But then
Yeah.
every time that person calls, you're showing up for them. That's not
Yeah.
good.
So that girlfriend or that guy friend that keeps showing up for you, but they pour it in right into the negatives. Every time you say something, they clap it up. Yeah, girl, leave that guy. Yeah, boy, leave that girl. Yeah, he's no good. She's no good. Blah 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 blah. You know what I would do? Blah. See, that's the person you want to end up in with, and that's the one that you should be leaving. Yeah, they've been your friends since childhood, but guess what? They're the drama that's in your life, and that's stirring up all of this stuff. So it's time to say hi and bye. Just repeat after me. Hi and bye. You got to get rid of those type people, right? Because, see, they're going to keep clapping for you, but what they're doing is they're going to go right around the corner and say, Tatiana, you know, I was over there talking to Brenda, and you know that girl, blah, 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 blah. And guess what? They're going to be the ones that's running right over there to Pookie. That's supposed to be your friend. They're going to be one right over there running over there telling Pookie what you said.
Not
right? You know how they do it, right? So now, this is why you have to have a good, solid, strong relationship with God for yourself. This is why you have to be in the Word for yourself. You can't just think. You can't just think you're going to hear somebody else give you a scripture or some text and then say, okay, I got it. No. You got to at some point have that relationship for yourself. That's how healing starts, right? It doesn't start any other way. You confess it with your mouth first through Him. Then the healing process will start. Otherwise, what you will do, you're going to wander aimlessly for 40 years in the wilderness trying to figure out why. And guess what? You're never going to figure it out because you're trying to do it alone. Mindset matters. You got to change this. You got to develop that relationship. And then all of a sudden, those things that keep failing for you, you've been through 10 relationships and you keep going to the next one, or you're in 2 right now and you're trying to get a third one. It's because Lady T said earlier, you're not healed, but you're not trying to get healed either. You see, some people decide to just lay in that foolishness, in that mess, and they just want to stay there because they want the friends to clap it up for them and go over there, have the pity parties, and girl, let's go have a girls' night out, and girl, let's go do this, and let's go do that. Well, you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, and you think you're going to get healed? No. And let me tell you guys, it's no different for you. Yeah, it's no different from you than you, right? You find yourself going from this person to this person to this person. You're searching. Well, guess what? He's right there waiting on you. You see, he'll come to the door, but you got to open the door to let him in. You see, he's not going to just force his way there. Could he force his way on you? Yeah, absolutely. But see, he's not going to do that. Just like he's not going to, watch this, Lady T, just like he's not going to force that job on you. Just like he's not going to force you to take care of your kids, right? That's going to be your responsibility. With responsibility, like I said earlier, comes accountability. And when you decide to develop that relationship with him, then all of a sudden you'll start seeing the stars will line up. The universe will start speaking to you in a different way. You will start seeing things in a different way. Right now, I didn't mean to talk this much right now because this is Lady T's night. But I'm sorry, I had to jump in and say something here. So Go ahead, take it over.
No, that was all needed for sure. Like it's key. And I know many people are probably like, okay, they don't know what a relationship with God looks like, and they may not be ready to take that step. The next thing I would recommend is you got to get honest with yourself. Whether you and what it looks like taking it before I even get into being honest with yourself, what it looks like taking step with God is not you going and saying a specific prayer, not you going to church, not you going to Bible study every day. It's you getting honest with him. God, I've been slacking here. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't do this without you. Those are the honest conversations that God is waiting on us to have with him. He don't want performance like we've been hearing. He wants presence. He does not care what car you drive, what clothes you have on, who your friends are, what your bank account look like, what credentials you have. He doesn't care about any of that. That's all worldly things. He care about what your heart looks like, who you are, who you desire to be, being present with him and saying, just opening up. But in addition, if you're not ready to have that conversation and go before him, then have it with yourself. That's really what it is being honest with ourselves. I'm not okay. It's okay to say we're not okay. I need help. It's okay to say I need help. Block out all the noise. And I know that's probably the hardest thing for many people to do is silence the noise. But you have to ask yourself, who am I living for? What do I want to leave behind? Like my little brother, one of my younger brothers, he's 25. And to hear him say he's had a hard life at 25, he has had a very hard 25 years of living. But I had to remind him, you are still young. Your life is just starting. While you may have made choices that he wasn't necessarily okay with, you now have the understanding and the wisdom not to make those same choices. You've been redeemed so you can go try again. The choices that we make keep us in shame and keep us away from God because we think that we can't be redeemed. Everybody has skeletons in their closet. So if you think that you have made poor choices or you don't deserve a good life, then you are keeping yourself stuck because we all deserve abundance. That is our birthright. We deserve to operate in healthy spaces, whatever that looks like for you. And society has told us long enough that you don't deserve this because of where you come from or what you look like. But that goes against what the word says. Because God, not one time does he bring up what we look like, our skin complexion, our gender. None of that is in the Bible. None of that limits his blessing and his glory and his mercy for us.
Yeah, you're
So
absolutely right. We're gonna wrap up in just a little bit here, but yesterday in church, the pastor um, read Psalms 23, and Psalms 23 is only has verses in it, and it's interesting because when he was reading it, it kind of hit me, and we actually put it in at the last page in the adult version of Mindset Matters. I mean, we just yesterday after church we went and edited before we sent it to Amazon today, right? And look, I'm just going to read it, and you got to develop your own relationship with God, all right? I'm not trying to force anything on you or anything like this, but I'm going to just read it. And here's what it says. It says, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside still waters," meaning calm and peace. Remember, we talked about that earlier, right? "He
mhm.
restores my soul. He leads me in paths of righteousness for his name's sake." Righteousness for his name's sake. You want to get right? You want to get healed? He's going to lead you in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil." You're bound up by fear. You let fear wind you up. Guess what? Right here it tells you, "Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me." You see, that comfort will come. This is why I said you got to develop that relationship with him, and then he'll give you that peace. He'll give you that healing. He'll give you that relationship that you want, that you desire, that job that you want or that you desire, that car, that house, that whatever it is, he'll give it to you. But you have to confess it with your mouth, not with my mouth, not with Lady T's mouth, with your own mouth, all right? He says, You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. What he's saying is, in the presence of your enemies, he'll give you what you need. He will reward you. He will give you all the blessings right in front of your enemies. But see, you got to confess it with your mouth. You got to accept it in your heart, and then you got to be willing to follow. He says, you anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. My cup runneth over. He will give you things that you can't even envision right now, that you can't even see right now. He'll give you those things. Amen. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow. Hold on. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life. Not some of the days of my life, not most of the days of my life, not every other day, but all the days of my life. And I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now, let me tell you what, folks. If that don't get you, then I don't know what else will. If that don't get you to understand, if that doesn't get you to understand that you need to develop that relationship with you, and going back to our original question, why was woman created second? Right there in that scripture, it tells you, folks, that all you have to do is get in alignment with him, and you won't worry about why woman was created second. You won't worry about who's leading, who's guiding, who's submissive, and who's not submissive. See,
the real thing is they won't worry. You won't worry about your position is not at risk.
Right.
The right woman is no threat to you. The wrong one, yes, she can do some damage just like the wrong man. But when you are right with God and you're right with yourself, you have enough discernment to know those that come in your life who has a place and those who don't have a place. But anybody, there's no such thing as a coincidence. Anybody that we interact with, whether if it's for a momentary like for a millisecond, it's a reason.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I hope you enjoyed the show tonight. I know we uncovered a lot, talked about a lot of things around why was woman created second. I want to thank Lady T for coming on the show. This is your second time this year. The next time I'm going to have to send you an invoice for being on the show. But I hope you guys and the audience, I hope you enjoyed our conversation tonight. And, you know, Mondays, 6:30 Central Time, we will be here live. And you know what? I will come on live when I have something to say. Amen. I'll come on live when there's a topic that's burning out here. But if you have something that you want me to talk about on Talk Leadership with Cedric, or you want to be a guest on Talk Leadership with Cedric, and you have something to say, you know me, you know my number. I have one number. Reach out, give me a call. You know, I'm not like them people that's important that have 4 or 5 numbers. I just have one. Okay.
I feel a little shade right there, Cedric, because you know I got 2 numbers, but
Well, they say never respond to shade that doesn't bear fruit.
No, I do want to leave the audience with one question, because I know we did cover a lot, like you said. And before we, you know, as I say, bow out gracefully, many people are probably questioning about their healing. And I'm gonna ask you, as I always ask my sister, what's the worst that could happen? Because a lot of people don't realize we've already experienced failure. Every day we fail at something, but depending on what it is, we just go back at it. So when it comes to healing, so what if you don't get it right the first time? What's wrong with trying again? But I'll leave them with that.
There you go. There you go. So you hold on, Lady T. Let me take care of a little business here. Hey, folks, thank you again for tuning in to Talk Leadership with Cedric. You know, everybody needs a little TLC, and I'm Cedric 𝗶𝗰, your host, and I hope you had a great time. Hey, I want you to go and pick up my latest book. This is the best book, I think, that we've put together so far, all right? This is the youth version. We have an adult version as well. Get a copy for your young person, right? And then also get a copy for yourself. Now, this is just not any old book. You can see how thick this book is, and it's not just a whole lot of reading, right? There are a lot of assessments. There's over 18 different assessments that's in here. So you have activities and things that you're going to do. And if I add, that's 18 assessments. If I add in the journaling prompts and the questions that you're going to answer about yourself, you're going to change your mindset when you're done reading this book, okay? And it's going to give you the game plan that you need to change your mindset. I wrote in here, or we wrote in here, the 15 different mindset types, okay? And you're going to learn something about each one of those mindsets. You're going to see yourself in some of those, maybe all of those mindset types, right? But we help you understand the mindset. See, once you understand it, then you can deal with it. Once you understand it, then you can control it, right? And we all have a different mindset depending on the day, the time of day, and the month that we're in, right? What we have to do is learn how to empower ourselves with the right mindset. So, what I encourage you to do to go to, let me put it here, just go to LaFleur Leadership Books. I just put it in the chat there, LaFleurLeadershipBooks.com, and you'll see that, you'll see this book. We have a list of, we have 6 different books that are out. You'll see this book, Mindset Matters. Order a copy for your young person and order a copy for yourself, the adult version for yourself. And let's change mindset. Amen. Let's help you unleash your potential. Thank you, guys. And as I always tell you when we end the show, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. Don't be on the menu.